Captain Park's gaze fixed on the twisted metal fragments scattered across the black void. The colony ship New Dawn no longer resembled a vessel meant to carry hopes and dreams to a new world. Now it was just a breeze, rotating slowly against the backdrop of stars. His jaw clenched so tightly it ached. Orbital Station 7 hummed quietly around him. The observation deck's massive viewport framed the tragedy in cold, unforgiving clarity. Recovery drones darted between the wreckage pieces, their lights flashing as they searched for survivors. Park knew they wouldn't find any. 612 souls, Lieutenant Kim whispered beside him. She stood at attention, but her voice betrayed her emotion. Families. Children. Park nodded without looking away from the scene. The recovery team had already transmitted the passenger manifest. He had studied every name, memorized the ages. 87 of them had been under 10 years old. And the Confederacy's response? He asked, though he already knew the answer. Kim's tablet displayed the official communication from the Galactic Confederacy's Security Council. The usual. Regrets. Promises to investigate. Suggestions that perhaps our navigation protocols were insufficient. Park's fist clenched involuntarily. His knuckles turned white against the dark material of his uniform. 20 years of this treatment. 20 years of humanity being treated as galactic newcomers, despite proving themselves time and again. They ignored our warnings for months, he said quietly. We provided star charts marking pirate movements. We offered escort ships. The Confederacy claimed the risk assessment didn't warrant resource allocation. Kim replied, her voice flat with barely contained anger. They said the pirates wouldn't target civilian vessels. Park finally turned from the viewport. The recovery operation would continue for days, but there was nothing more he could do here. His eyes met Kim's, and he saw his own fury reflected there. How many times have we heard that before? He asked. The communication panel on the wall chimed before Kim could answer. The screen flickered to life, revealing Admiral Baz's stern face. Her silver-streaked hair was pulled back in its usual tight bun, her uniform impeccable. But Park noticed something different in her eyes, a cold, hard gleam he hadn't seen before. Captain Park, Lieutenant Kim, return to Earth immediately. Security Council is convening. Park straightened automatically at the Admiral's tone. Yes, ma'am. We'll depart within the hour. He hesitated, then asked, has there been a decision? For a moment, Admiral Baz's expression remained carefully neutral. Then something shifted in her face, a subtle change that sent a chill down Park's spine. Let's just say humanity's patience has officially run out, she replied. The screen went dark before he could respond. Park and Kim exchanged glances. In the 20 years since humanity had joined the galactic community, they had faced constant dismissal, discrimination, and diplomatic slights. Human concerns were routinely ignored. Human achievements were downplayed. Human territories received minimal protection from Confederacy patrols. And now, 612 more human lives had been lost because the Confederacy couldn't be bothered to listen. Prepare the shuttle, Park ordered. I want us planet-side within 6 hours. Kim nodded sharply and moved to leave, but paused at the doorway. Captain, she said quietly, do you think this is it? The breaking point? Park looked back at the wreckage one last time. I hope so, Lieutenant, he replied. For their sake, I truly hope so. The journey back to Earth passed in tense silence. Their military shuttle cut through space at maximum speed, the stars blurring outside the viewports. Park spent most of the flight reviewing data files on his tablet, reports of previous incidents, statistics on human losses due to Confederacy negligence, diplomatic communications that led nowhere. The pattern was painfully clear. When the Mrethi trading fleet had violated human space and harvested minerals from an asteroid belt designated for human development, the Confederacy had issued a mild reprimand. When Zverian diplomats had leaked sensitive human technology to their manufacturing guilds, the case had been dismissed for lack of evidence. When the Orindi Republic had restricted human colony expansion under false pretenses, The Confederacy had sided with the Orindi. The shuttle approached Earth, the blue-green planet growing larger in the viewports. Even from orbit, Park could see the massive scar across North America, the impact zone from 50 years ago, when humanity had first detected alien life. Not through peaceful contact, but through an automated mining drone that had crashed into Earth, killing millions. That incident had brought humanity into the galactic community, but not as equals. Never as equals. The shuttle landed at the Singapore spaceport, where a transport was already waiting. Within minutes, Park and Kim were speeding toward the underground complex that housed Earth's Security Council. The tropical heat and humidity hit them as they exited the transport, a stark contrast to the controlled environment of the orbital station. Guards checked their credentials and escorted them through a series of security checkpoints. The complex went deep, protected by layers of rock and advanced shielding technology. Few aliens had ever been permitted this far into humanity's command center. Admiral Ba met them in the anteroom to the main chamber. Up close, Park could see the exhaustion in her face, lines of fatigue etched around her eyes. But her posture remained rigid, her gaze steady. "Captain, Lieutenant," she acknowledged them with a nod. "You witnessed the recovery operation." "Yes, Admiral," Park replied. "No survivors." Ba's expression hardened. "The Confederacy's ambassador has sent another communication. They suggest that perhaps the colony ship deviated from its approved flight path." Kim made a small, angry sound. "That's absolutely false. We have the tracking data." "We know, Lieutenant." Ba cut her off. "We all know. That's why we're here today." She gestured toward the heavy doors leading to the council chamber. "For 20 years, we've played by their rules. We've been patient. We've been diplomatic. We've swallowed our pride and bitten our tongues while they treated us like children." She paused, meeting their eyes in turn. "That ends today." The doors swung open, revealing a circular room filled with Earth's highest military and political leaders. The mood was solemn but charged with energy. Park noticed that several stations around the table displayed technical schematics he didn't recognize. Weapons systems, perhaps, or defensive technologies that had been kept secret. "What you're about to hear doesn't leave this room," Bad told them as they entered. "But I wanted you both here. You've seen firsthand what their neglect has cost us." As they took their seats, the council chairperson stood. The room fell silent. "Today," she announced, "we implement Operation Enough. May history remember that we tried patience first." Admiral Ba stepped out of the transport tube into the vast underground chamber. The air here smelled different from Earth, dry and slightly metallic. Lights flickered on automatically as she walked, illuminating what few humans outside this facility knew existed. Ships. Hundreds of them. Advanced warships lined up in perfect rows, their hulls gleaming under the harsh lights. None of these vessels appeared on any registry shared with the Galactic Confederacy. None of them officially existed. The facility stretched for kilometers beneath the lunar farside, hidden from both Earth and alien observation. Ba felt a flutter of pride as she surveyed humanity's secret fleet. For 15 years, they had built this force in silence, all while pretending to struggle with basic spacefaring technology. "Admiral," a voice called from behind her. Director Lee approached, tablet in hand. His footsteps echoed in the cavernous space as he fell into step beside her. Despite having worked 18 hours straight, he looked alert, his movements precise. "Project Aegis is fully operational," he reported, pulling up schematics on his tablet. The display showed a network of orbital platforms surrounding Earth and its colonies. The shield generators can be deployed within 48 hours. Bay nodded, impressed. The planetary shield system had been their most ambitious project. Technology the Confederacy believed was centuries beyond human capability. And the Prometheus drives. Retrofitted to the entire Third Fleet. Lee couldn't hide the hint of satisfaction in his voice. "They'll reach the Arcturus checkpoint in under 2 days instead of the standard 18. Vi allowed herself a small smile. The Prometheus drive had been humanity's greatest breakthrough and their most closely guarded secret. Aliens throughout the galaxy believe humans were still crawling through space using outdated fusion engines. They had no idea that humans could now cross vast distances in a fraction of the time. They continued walking between the rows of ships. Engineers and technicians worked throughout the facility, running final checks, loading equipment, and preparing for deployment. Everyone moved with quiet efficiency. They all understood what was at stake. The New Dawn's destruction changed everything, Lee said quietly. The council voted unanimously. "We've lost enough," they replied. 600 lives that could have been saved if the Confederacy had simply listened to our warnings. They reached an elevator that took them up to the command deck. The doors opened onto a bustling control center carved directly into the lunar rock. Massive screens displayed star charts, fleet positions, and communication channels. Officers moved between stations, their faces set with determination. Commander Jun looked up from the central console as they approached. "Admiral on deck," he called, and the room snapped to attention. "As you were," Boz said. The personnel returned to their work as she joined Jun at the main tactical display. "Status report," she ordered. Jun gestured to the holographic map hovering above the console. "All vessels are at readiness level 1. Crews are boarding now. The Prometheus drives have been calibrated for the 3 target destinations." Dai studied the deployment schedule, checking the timing of each phase of operation enough. For 15 years, humanity had been playing weak while building strength. The aliens believed humans lacked certain technical capabilities, a misconception carefully cultivated through misinformation and staged failures. When human scientists had developed quantum shielding, they had publicly announced a failed attempt at basic deflector technology. When the Prometheus drive was first tested, they had disguised it as an explosion in a remote research facility. Each time humans made a leap forward, they hid it behind a facade of struggles and setbacks. "The deception has served its purpose," Boz said, more to herself than to June. "But now it's time to show our true capabilities." A side door opened, and Captain Park and Lieutenant Kim entered the command center. They looked tired from their journey, but straightened when they saw Ba. She had specifically requested their presence for the operation's launch. "Captain, Lieutenant," she acknowledged them. "Welcome to Artemis Base." Park's eyes widened as he took in the command center. "I had no idea this existed," he admitted. "Very few do," Bay replied. "Need to know basis only." Kim approached the tactical display, studying the fleet formations with a specialist's eye. "These ship configurations, they're nothing like our public vessels." "That's the point, Lieutenant," Lee said. "What the Confederacy sees is not what we have." Bai called up footage from the New Dawn disaster on a secondary screen. The wreckage spun silently against the blackness of space. "This is why we're here," she reminded them. "This is why we've prepared." She turned to address the entire command center. Conversations quieted as personnel turned toward her. "For 20 years, we have endured dismissal, neglect, and condescension from the Galactic Confederacy," she began. "For 15 of those years, we have been preparing for the day when patience would no longer be an option." Her voice carried throughout the room without shouting. "That day has come. 612 human lives were lost because our warnings were ignored. We will not allow such a tragedy to happen again." She brought up images of the 3 targets on the main display. "Operation Enough begins at 600, Bai announced to her assembled commanders. "Coordinates for all 3 phases have been transmitted to your secure channels." The room was absolutely silent as she continued. "Remember, this is not war. This is revision of terms. We will demonstrate our strength without causing unnecessary harm. We will show the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated, but we will do so with precision and restraint." She looked at the faces around her, determined, ready, committed. "Any questions?" When none came, she nodded sharply. "To your stations. The time for hiding our capabilities is over." As the commanders dispersed, Park approached Va. "Admiral, permission to join the operation." "Granted," she replied. "You'll command the Rigel rescue mission. Your experience with the New Dawn recovery makes you uniquely qualified." Park's expression hardened with resolve. "Thank you, Admiral." Bai turned back to the tactical display. In less than 12 hours, humanity would reveal its true face to the galaxy. Not with blind aggression, but with calculated demonstration. Not with revenge, but with a clear message. The Confederacy had mistaken patience for weakness. They were about to discover just how wrong they had been. Captain Song stood on the bridge of the HCS Retribution, watching the pirate base grow larger on the main screen. Vega's edge glittered against the darkness of space, its ramshackle structures clinging to a cluster of asteroids. Red warning lights blinked across the tactical display, showing the positions of pirate vessels. 12 minutes to optimal position, announced the navigation officer. Song nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. For years, this pirate stronghold had terrorized the trade routes. For years, humans had asked the Confederacy to act. The response had always been the same. The situation was diplomatically complex, their euphemism for too difficult to handle. Today, that would change. 11 other human warships moved into formation around the Retribution. None of them matched the designs registered with the Galactic Confederacy. These vessels were sleeker, faster, more powerful, the products of humanity's secret shipyards. "All ships report ready, Captain," said Commander Min from the tactical station. "Weapons systems are hot." Song shook his head. "Defensive systems only. No casualties if possible." Min raised an eyebrow, but nodded. "Understood, sir." Gravity projectors primed and ready. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. There was tension in the air, but also determination. Many of them had lost friends or family to pirate attacks that could have been prevented if the Confederacy had taken human warnings seriously. "Pirates have detected us," reported the sensor officer. "They're scrambling fighters." 20 small vessels launching from the main base. Song watched calmly as red dots swarmed toward them on the tactical display. "Let them come. Wait until they're in range of all 12 ships." The pirate vessels accelerated, weapons charging. They clearly expected the human ships to retreat or be easily overwhelmed. After all, everyone knew human military technology was inferior, primitive compared to other species. "They're in position," Min announced. "Deploy gravity wells," Song ordered. Invisible fields of concentrated gravity erupted from the human ships, precisely targeted. On the screen, the pirate vessels suddenly slowed, then stopped completely. They hung motionless in space, caught like insects in amber. "Gravity containment successful," Min reported, surprise evident in his voice, despite his professional demeanor. "All pirate ships are immobilized." "Now the EMP pulses," Song said. "Calibrate them to disable weapons and propulsion systems only. Leave life support intact." The bridge crew executed his orders with practiced precision. Targeted electromagnetic pulses flashed across space, each one specifically designed to neutralize the pirates' weapons without harming the crew inside. "Sir, we're receiving panicked communications from the pirate base," said the communications officer. "They're demanding to know how we're doing this." "No response necessary," Song replied. "Maintain position and prepare boarding teams. I want those ships secured without bloodshed if possible." As the operation unfolded, Song received updates from the other two prongs of Operation Enough. At the contested Kuiper Belt in the Ta City system, Commander Choi had deployed mining platforms under the protection of human vessels that moved with impossible speed. The Confederacy had allocated those resources to another species despite humanity's prior claim. Now human ships were establishing a presence that could not be ignored, and at the distant Rigel outpost, Captain Park had arrived with a human rescue carrier, responding to a distress beacon. They had reached the struggling alien colony 3 days before the Confederacy's emergency response could arrive, bringing critical medical supplies and engineers to repair their failing life support systems. 3 demonstrations of capability. 3 messages to the galaxy. 6 hours later, Song stood in the command center of the pirate base. The operation had been completed without a single death. The pirates, a mix of 7 different alien species, had surrendered after realizing they could neither fight nor flee. They now sat in containment areas, being processed for transfer to Confederacy authorities. "Security sweep complete, Captain," reported Lieutenant Yoon. "We've recovered stolen goods from 27 separate incidents, including components from the New Dawn." Song's jaw tightened at the mention of the destroyed colony ship. "Document everything. I want irrefutable evidence that these pirates were responsible." "Already done, sir. We also found communication logs proving they were paying protection money to Confederacy border patrols." Song wasn't surprised. Corruption within the Confederacy had been one of humanity's complaints for years, complaints that were always dismissed as paranoia or misunderstanding. "Package that evidence separately," he ordered. "It goes directly to Ambassador Han." Back on the Retribution, Song recorded his official report. The operation had achieved all objectives with minimal force. The pirates were in custody. The stolen goods would be returned to their rightful owners. And humanity had demonstrated capabilities that the galaxy had believed were beyond them. His screen chimed with an incoming transmission from Earth. Ambassador Han's face appeared, composed and dignified as always. "Captain Song," the ambassador greeted him. "I've received your report. Excellent work." "Thank you, sir." The pirates offered less resistance than expected once they realized they couldn't escape the gravity wells. Han nodded. "Similar reports from Ta Siti and Rigel. Commander Choi has established our mining rights with no opposition. Captain Park's rescue operation has already saved over 2,000 lives." Song knew that under Han's calm exterior, the ambassador must be feeling the same satisfaction that coursed through his own veins. After years of being ignored and underestimated, humanity had finally shown its true capabilities. "What happens now, sir?" Song asked. "Now," Han replied, "we talk. I've requested an emergency session of the Galactic Council for tomorrow. The pieces are in place." Song understood. Today's demonstrations weren't about revenge. They were about changing the conversation, forcing the Confederacy to recognize humanity as equals. "Captain," Han added, "keep the Retribution and its battle group at Vega's Edge for now. Maintain a visible presence, but take no further action unless provoked." "Understood, Ambassador." After the transmission ended, Song returned to the bridge. The main screen now showed the secured pirate base, with human ships positioned strategically around it. For the first time since joining the galactic community, humanity had acted without permission, without apology. He thought of the New Dawn, of the 612 lives lost because the Confederacy wouldn't listen. This wouldn't bring them back, but perhaps it would prevent such tragedies in the future. "Sir," Commander Min said, interrupting his thoughts, "we're receiving transmission requests from 17 different Confederacy vessels. They're all suddenly very interested in what we're doing here." Song allowed himself a small smile. "Tell them Ambassador Han will address all their questions at tomorrow's council meeting. Until then, they're welcome to observe from a respectful distance." The day humanity's patience ran out, the galaxy had finally started paying attention. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber parted as Ambassador Han approached. He walked with measured steps, neither hurried nor hesitant. The circular room rose in tiers around him, with representatives from over 200 species seated in curved rows. Normally, the human ambassador's entrance would have been met with hushed conversations and barely concealed disinterest. Today, the chamber fell completely silent. Han wore the traditional diplomatic uniform of Earth's united government, simple black with a single silver stripe representing humanity. No decorations, no elaborate displays of rank or achievement. The simplicity stood in stark contrast to the ornate garments of many alien representatives. Han's aide, Ji-hoon, walked 2 steps behind him, carrying a small data core. Their footsteps echoed in the unusual quiet. Han felt the weight of hundreds of alien eyes following his movement. He had stood in this chamber many times before, always fighting to be heard, always struggling for respect. Today would be different. The central speaking platform activated as Han stepped onto it, bathing him in soft light. The council leader, a tall Norivan with silvery skin, leaned forward at the highest tier. The council recognizes the representative from Earth, the Norivan announced, his voice carrying a note of caution that had never been present before. Han bowed slightly, following protocol. I thank the council for convening this emergency session. He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with key representatives. The Xovians, with their orange skin and multiple eyes. The insectoid Zari delegation. The crystalline forms of the Mrethi, species that had dismissed humanity for decades. Esteemed representatives, Han began, his voice calm and measured. Humanity has demonstrated a fraction of our capabilities in response to years of negligence. We come today not seeking war, but equity. The Xovian delegate's skin flushed deep orange, a sign of agitation in their species. These provocative displays were necessary, Han interrupted, something he had never dared to do before. Just as necessary as our patience has been. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Han had broken protocol by interrupting a senior delegate, but he continued without apology. For 20 years, humanity has participated in this confederacy. For 20 years, we have followed your rules, accepted your judgments, and endured your dismissals. Han's voice remained even, but carried throughout the chamber. That time has ended. He nodded to Jai-Hoon, who activated the data core. A holographic display appeared above the speaking platform, showing documented incidents in chronological order. We have compiled evidence of 17 treaty violations against human colonies, Han stated. We have documented 43 cases where human scientific contributions were appropriated without credit. The display shifted to show specific cases: the Mrethi mining operation in Earth's claimed asteroid belt, the Tseri piracy against human transports that went unpunished, the Xovian appropriation of human medical techniques. Last week, 612 humans died when pirates attacked a colony ship, Han continued. Pirates operating in a sector where we had repeatedly requested Confederacy patrols. Pirates who have now been apprehended by human forces, not yours. The council leader leaned forward. Ambassador Han, while we regret the loss of life, these unilateral military actions taken by Earth forces were effective. Han finished for him. In 6 hours, we accomplished what your security forces claimed was impossible, without a single casualty. Han gestured, and the hologram changed again. This time, it displayed detailed intelligence on Confederacy military positions and capabilities, information they believed humans could not possibly possess. Base locations, fleet movements, defense systems. The chamber grew deathly quiet as representatives recognized their own secret installations. We know more than you think, Han said softly. We see more than you believe. We have capabilities beyond what you have assumed. The Tseri representative clicked her mandibles nervously. Is this a threat, Ambassador? Han shook his head. If we wanted to threaten you, we would not be here talking. The pirate base at Vega's Edge could have been destroyed rather than captured. The Ta Siti resources could have been claimed with force rather than simply protected. The Rigel colony could have been left to wait for your delayed response. He deactivated the hologram with a wave of his hand. We could have responded with aggression, Han continued. Instead, we chose restraint. The question now is whether this council can recognize the difference between patience and weakness. A hush fell over the chamber as the representatives absorbed his words. Han could see them reassessing, recalculating. For the first time, they were seeing humanity not as primitive newcomers, but as equals, perhaps even as a potential threat. The representative from the Orindi Republic stood, her translucent membranes rippling with color. You speak of treaty violations, yet your own actions violate Confederacy protocols. Your ships entered restricted zones without authorization. Your technology exceeds what you have registered with the Confederacy. Han smiled slightly. Yes, because those protocols have been used to limit us, not protect us. Those restrictions have been applied unequally. As for our technology, we simply followed the example set by others in this chamber. He activated a secondary display showing communications between Confederacy officials discussing ways to keep humanity dependent on alien technology. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably as their private messages appeared before the council. What do you want, Ambassador Han? The council leader asked directly. Equal treatment, fair application of existing treaties, recognition of human territorial claims, proper attribution for human scientific contributions. Han's voice remained level. In short, we want what was promised when Earth joined the Confederacy. Partnership, not subjugation. The Soviet delegate rose again. And if these demands are not met to your satisfaction? They are not demands, Han corrected. They are terms for continued cooperation. If the Confederacy cannot abide by its own founding principles, then humanity will reconsider its membership. A wave of whispers swept through the chamber. No species had ever threatened to leave the Confederacy. The economic and security implications would be substantial. The council leader called for order. Ambassador Han, the council requires time to consider your presentation. Of course, Han replied. Humanity has demonstrated patience for 20 years. We can allow you 20 hours. He bowed slightly. I will return tomorrow for your response. As Han turned to leave, the Mrethi representative called out, How do we know these demonstrations of force are the extent of your capabilities? What else are you hiding, human? Han paused at the edge of the platform. That depends entirely on how tomorrow's meeting proceeds. He smiled politely. Have a productive deliberation, representatives. As the doors closed behind him, Han released a long breath. Ji-hoon looked at him with concern. Do you think they'll agree to our terms? Han nodded slowly. They will. Not because they respect us, but because they fear what else we might reveal. He glanced back at the closed doors. Fear is not the foundation I would have chosen for a new relationship, but sometimes it is necessary to be feared before one can be respected. Within the chamber, the council erupted into urgent debate. For the first time in 20 years, humanity wasn't being discussed with dismissal, but with genuine concern. The day humanity's patience ran out had become the day the galaxy finally took notice. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows of the Earth Diplomatic Academy's main lecture hall. Professor Yoon adjusted the display settings one last time before turning to face her students. The hall was unusually full today. Not only were her regular diplomatic cadets present, but representatives from 12 alien species had requested permission to attend. The reason for their interest stood beside her on the stage. Zinfar, a tall, slender being with iridescent scales and six-fingered hands. As a renowned sociologist from the Galactic Confederacy's Central University, Zinfar had spent the past year studying what many aliens now call the human paradox. We are honored to welcome both Zinfar and retired Admiral Ba to today's discussion, Professor Yoon announced. 1 year ago today, humanity's relationship with the galaxy changed forever. We are here to reflect on those events and their meaning. Admiral Ba sat in the front row, her once black hair now completely silver. Though no longer in uniform, she carried herself with the same quiet authority that had guided humanity through its most significant galactic confrontation. Zinfar stepped forward, 6 eyes blinking in sequence, a gesture of respect in their culture. I thank you for allowing me to address your students, the alien began, translator device converting their harmonic speech into clear Earth standard. When I began this research project, many of my colleagues questioned its value. Today, understanding humans has become the most prestigious field in galactic sociology. The audience chuckled, but there was truth in the alien's words. In the years since Operation Enough, humanity's position in the galaxy had transformed completely. Your species confused us, Zinfar admitted, gesturing with elegant 6-fingered hands. Your technological advancement curve didn't match your apparent capabilities. Your military response patterns defied prediction algorithms. Zinfar activated a holographic display showing comparative technology development rates for various species. The human line showed strange jumps and plateaus that matched none of the standard models. We assumed your progress was slow, when in fact you were concealing your true capabilities. Zinfar continued. This pattern appears nowhere else in known galactic history. Professor Yoon nodded to Admiral Ba, who rose and joined them on the stage. Though she had retired 6 months after Operation Enough, Ba remained an influential voice in human-alien relations. Humanity has spent millennia fighting itself, she explained, her voice carrying easily through the hall. We learned that true strength isn't about immediate retaliation, but strategic timing. She gestured to the historical timeline on display. Earth's history is filled with examples where patience was mistaken for weakness, where apparent acceptance of poor treatment was actually calculation. We brought those lessons to the stars. A young Rethi student raised a limb. But why hide your capabilities for so long? 20 Earth years is a significant period to endure mistreatment. Ba smiled slightly. We needed time. Time to study the Confederacy's strengths and weaknesses. Time to build our secret fleet. Time to develop technologies that would give us leverage when we finally revealed ourselves. And you succeeded beyond all projections, Zinfar added. The new treaties have transformed your position in just 1 standard year. The alien was right. Trade routes had equalized, with human merchants now granted the same access as older species. Human colonies received proper protection from Confederacy patrols. Several species had formed deeper alliances with Earth, recognizing humans as valuable partners rather than nuisances. But what still puzzles many is your restraint, Zinfar continued. At Vega's Edge, you captured pirates who had killed your people without taking a single life in return. At Tau City, you established mining operations without displacing the Orindi who had illegally claimed your territory. At Rigel, you saved thousands of Xovian lives despite their previous hostility toward human colonies. Admiral Ba's expression grew thoughtful. The day our patience ran out wasn't the day we chose violence, she told the attentive alien. It was the day we revealed that patience itself had been our weapon all along. She walked to the edge of the stage, looking directly at the mixed audience of humans and aliens. We could have sought revenge. Many wanted to. The families of those lost on the New Dawn called for retaliation, but that would have only confirmed the image many species had of humans as primitive and emotional. Instead, Professor Yoon added, we demonstrated capability alongside restraint, power with mercy, strength with wisdom. A human cadet raised her hand. But what if the Confederacy hadn't responded positively? What if they had seen our actions as threats rather than demonstrations? Admiral Ba and Zinfar exchanged glances. It was the alien who answered. That possibility was extensively discussed in council chambers, Zinfar admitted. Some wanted to respond with force, to make an example of the upstart humans. And what changed their minds? The cadet pressed. 2 things, Zinfar replied. First, the intelligence human operatives had gathered. Ambassador Han knew details about Confederacy operations that terrified many representatives. If that information became public, several governments would have collapsed. The alien paused, all 6 eyes blinking in sequence again. But more importantly, we realized that a species with such capability that chose restraint instead of revenge was not one we wished to make an enemy of. After the lecture concluded, Admiral Ba walked the academy grounds with Professor Yoon and Zinfar. Spring flowers bloomed along the paths, their sweet scent filling the air. There is one question I have not yet asked, Zinfar said as they paused beside a reflecting pool. One that many in the Confederacy still debate. Go ahead, Ba encouraged. Were there other options you considered? Other ways humanity might have addressed its grievances? Ba looked at the water, watching ripples spread from a fallen blossom. We tried diplomacy for 20 years. We filed formal complaints. We requested hearings. We proposed amendments to existing treaties. All were ignored or dismissed. In the end, Professor Yoon added, we realized that true change would only come when the power dynamics shifted. Words alone would never be enough. Zinthar nodded slowly. A lesson many species are now taking to heart. Indeed, throughout the galaxy, things had changed in ways few could have predicted. In a quiet corner of the Galactic Library, a new section had been established, filled with human history texts. Alien diplomats could often be found there, studying Earth's wars, revolutions, and peace treaties with newfound respect, and perhaps a touch of unease. Trade patterns had shifted as species reassessed their relationships with humanity. Military doctrines were being rewritten to account for the human factor, as they now called it, the possibility that apparent weakness might conceal hidden strength. And on a dozen worlds, the descendants of those lost on the New Dawn were building new lives, protected now by the same confederacy that had once ignored their safety. They planted memorial gardens with earth flowers, symbols of life continuing after loss. Captain Park, now Admiral Park, visited these colonies regularly. On this day, he stood in one such garden on Proxima Colony, speaking with a young girl whose parents had died in the attack. "Do you think they would be proud?" she asked him, looking at the memorial stone with her parents' names. Park considered the question carefully. "I think they would be proud that their loss led to change. That because of them, no other colony ship will be left unprotected." The girl nodded, placing a small stone on the memorial, an old Earth tradition honoring the departed. "The aliens understand us better now," she said. "Yes," Park agreed. "And perhaps more importantly, we understand ourselves better too." Above them, ships from 5 different species moved peacefully through Proxima's skies, a sight that would have been unimaginable 1 year earlier. The day humanity's patience had run out had become the day a new understanding began. The end.